Tomatoes are coming along, and now I'm going through and removing some suckers, which are those vines that come in between the main vine and a leaf like that, and that'll grow another tomato vine. There's another one. I'm also cutting off those lower branches, those lower leaves, which keeps them out of the dirt, prevents them from getting wet. And some of them, like the ones that overhang like that, I'll cut half off, which lightens the load on the plant a little bit, lets the plant stand upright a little bit more, be a little perkier, and also again prevents mold and fungus by keeping the leaves out of the dirt and away from the water. So that's real good practice with your tomatoes, and you can see what happens if it doesn't. That's a little fungal growth because this branch is right next to the emitter. It got wet in one day. It's been kind of windy here and got a little splash, and that's all it takes. So if you want to keep your tomatoes real healthy, you'll do these steps. Cut those suckers off too, unless you want your tomatoes to be very branchy and viney and bushy. Since we're growing so many plants, I'm going to limit the number of those secondary vines that grow, because that'll get me just more vigorous growth while they're young like this, for one thing. More suckers will come in if we wanted to get these plants to be any bigger. And see a little damage there. That might be that I had this hook on there before when the plant was really young, is what I think that is. That's all right. This vining system is working real nicely. It's the first season I've used this, and happy with it so far. We'll see how it goes. I've got these strings on much more mature tomatoes and cucumbers in my hydroponic garden, which you can see those videos, and so I know how it is on bigger plants. I actually just trained up the cucumbers yesterday and harvested a bunch of cucumbers and let the vines down, and it works real well so far. Get tangled up in your tomatoes like that. Here's a sucker that's advanced a little bit without me knowing, and that's going to create a secondary vine off of the main vine, which I'm trying to train up like this, nice and straight. And what that'll do is weigh the plant way over on one side, for one thing. And you may say, oh well, that's going to produce a lot more tomatoes, and it sort of will, but you know, the plant's going to produce what it produces, and the roots will put that, and the plant will put that growth in other directions. There's so much vigorous growth on tomatoes that you can, hey, look at that. Didn't even notice that little sucker. There's so much vigorous growth on a tomato that you can remove some of those suckers, and I'm going to leave that one since it's already got a tomato growing on it. Here's another one. These are the San Marzano Roma tomatoes, I think. And on this side we've got the early girls. There they are. We've got these 6 early girls and those 6 saucing tomatoes, and then it's another 4 of those smaller saucing tomatoes over there. So, you know, I'm watering away, so I'm going to continue doing that. And the other thing you want to do with your tomatoes is I don't need to because it's so windy, but you hand pollinate them like that. You just tap them, and the flowers will drop their pollen. You do that in the morning, and I don't need to do it at all, but that's how you do it. It's real windy here right now, so they're all set. But that's important to do every morning too. And water them lots. I'm watering these plants a couple gallons And today is a day that I'm hand watering. I fed them through the drip emitters with a nutrient solution yesterday, and so today is just clear water, and lots of it because I noticed the pots were getting dry on the edges. So where the drippers have not been giving full moisture, I'm going to go ahead and get those pots wet in a couple of times a week to make sure that the soil stays nice and vital. And tune in for more. I'm going to continue trimming. See, I got that one wet in that branch now. That's a branch that needs to get cut. So be real vigilant about that, and you'll have happier plants. Trust me. You can see how deeply I water them, especially in these smart pots. Giving them a couple gallons already, and they drink it right up. So when I'm feeding them, I'm spreading 30 gallons over 12 plants, and now hand watering them like this. Probably about the same or even a little more, and just spread out a little bit better than the drippers can do. All right, there you have it. Have a good day. One thing I can tell you for sure, it's those downward facing leaves that are going to cause you the problem. You want to cut off those lower leaves, and when you start noticing the leaves pointing downward, cut them off. Those leaves are going to cause you trouble. I promise you that. Those are the ones that will start to get fungal and mold problems. So cut them off early, and just know that your tomatoes are a vine. So as the tomato grows, it's going to produce fruit on the lower part of the vine, and those lower leaves and those lower fruits are going to get picked out, and you'll end up with a bare vine. If you trim them all, if you have indeterminate tomatoes, you can just keep letting that vine out, which is what we're going to do. You just keep letting that vine out longer and longer, and keep getting their tomatoes further and further along the vine. So keep them tidy, keep them trimmed, and you'll have better results overall. Otherwise, you will just have a wild, out of control plant, which I've done that. Go for it if that suits you. When you have a lot of tomatoes though, and you want to get the most successful harvest and keep the health of the plants the longest, you want to keep those plants nice and tidy. So I'm trimming them up some more. Got more suckers to remove.